Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from worldwide. I'm Sterling. It's great to have you back on the channel. This show is being recorded on Saturday, the 22nd of November, 2025, and then distributed onto YouTube on Sunday, November 23rd, 2025. As always, these shows are provided for entertainment purposes only. All the information I share with you comes real time through my guides, angels, extended spiritual counsel, famous people from history, so for entertainment purposes only. Also, if you just remember, take a quick like and subscribe and share these videos. That really helps the back end algorithm for YouTube. We greatly appreciate it. And the best news is it's free of charge, no charge whatsoever. For those that would like to join our Platinum membership, where I do live streams, I answer a plethora of people's personal questions, our viewers on Friday morning Pacific time zone. You can join our Platinum membership group, and the join button's on the front page of the YouTube channel, Sterling Psychic Medium, as well as our website, sterlingpsychicmedium.com. A real quick footnote, if you're new to these shows or these broadcasts, we gather questions for these shows from our YouTube channel under the post section, and our team puts out a request for questions on Mondays every week. And then my wife then goes through some 800 questions, I think it was this week, and comes up with a representative sample that I answer for you here real time on these shows. Now, for this week, I think there were 81 questions that we'll go through. So without any further delay, let's get going on today's show for November 23rd, 2025 is when you'll see it deployed on the YouTube platform. Question 81. What is the real motivation behind Marjorie Taylor Greene's announcement that she plans to resign from Congress? I guess she's concerned for the safety of her family in light of kind of going against the 45 administration. And I also see that she really sees a real change in her political view. Notwithstanding a lot of things that have gone on, but I see it's a combination of safety for the family and a real opposite positioning from a lot of what was going on around the 45 administration. 80. In the Big B bill, there is a proposal to strip many professional degrees of their designation. This includes social workers, nursing, educators, audiologists, architects, and accountants, to name a few. This would severely devalue these degrees and limit the amount of money new students can take out as loans. This increases the cost of these degrees and the number of potential students entering these fields. Do you or your team see this happening? I do see what I'm going to call a short-term effect. I do see this all taking place. But as we get out into next year, like the middle of next year, 2026, I see a lot of billionaires stepping forward. Actually, they're telling me it could be faster. First off, to augment the loans for these particular types of careers. But then I see as we get out past like the 2026 midterm election, somehow this is going to get reversed. So I'll call it kind of a short-term effect, but I do see some billionaires stepping in here to help out funding these kind of degree programs. 79, you have mentioned there are hybrids and extraterrestrials helping us in certain areas like science, the medical industry, education, and technology. Are they also assisting in working in high levels of government like the Pentagon? So yes, in the case of hybrids, they're working within the Pentagon. They do not reveal they're hybrids, but they're highly connected to extraterrestrial information. In the case of extraterrestrials working with many groups here on Earth, a lot of that's going through telepathic communication. So you won't see them walking around the hallways, but these are people that are highly evolved, can communicate with the other side. So kind of a combination here, but even the hybrids that are working within government, remember, rule number one, they do not reveal themselves as hybrid. That will all come out when full disclosure takes place very shortly here. It's already started, but that's kind of the difference between the way hybrids interact and help society or help humanity and extraterrestrials. 78, what do your guides and angels see in the future of Homo sapiens sapiens from an evolutionary standpoint? Will we look different? Will there be genetic changes? Be a lot of genetic changes based on a lot of genetic engineering technology coming forward. A lot of the diseases humanity wrestles with won't be a big issue. Also, you're going to see that as you go forward hundreds of years into the future, A lot of the difference between the races will be much less noticeable. You see, if you look at extraterrestrial species, you'll see a lot of familiarity, a lot of similarity in the way they look. You're going to see Homo sapiens sapiens evolve kind of in the same way. There'll be a lot more similarity in the way people look. Actually, going to get much taller too. Height, for some reason, is an issue. And as humanity moves forward, actually, by and large, humanity will be a lot taller. 7745 has seemingly threatened prosecution and even worse outcomes for six members of Congress for sedition over a video they made reminding service members they're not obligated to follow unlawful orders from the commander in chief. Do you and your guys see any harm coming to these members of Congress? No, I do not see any harm, direct harm coming to these members of Congress due to the high visibility of what's going on now in the press and the media. I also see additionally dozens of more members of Congress coming forward and saying the same thing that these six members of Congress did. So you're actually going to see an upswell in the amount of people talking openly and verbally about, guarding against what the military is able to talk about and do, what they're obligated to do. Are they obligated to do illegal things? So really, you're going to see many more members of Congress coming forward. Notwithstanding, I don't see these six members having their life threatened. I do not see them having their life threatened. Make some of that happen, but not in a meaningful way, if that makes sense. 76, will the ETs assist us in saving the Earth from environmental catastrophic collapse? Yes, they've already been doing this for millions of years. So extraterrestrial groups are very concerned about Earth. They don't want to see it go anywhere. It's a very unique place in the universe. They definitely step in for catastrophic extinction of the planet. We're on the fourth go-round right now. There's three other go-rounds that were the planet was allowed to kind of shift and change for different reasons. On this fourth go-round, extraterrestrials are very serious about keeping this going. They're already involved in making sure that humanity does not get wiped out. So they do get involved in a number of, we're talking about here, environmental changes. The global climate change we're experiencing is part of the evolution of the Earth. So they're not stopping a lot of that. It is part of the evolution. But as far as anything catastrophic, they do step in. 75, will human attention spans be restored in the wake of the negative effects of social media and smartphones? Yeah, no real changes in the attention span of humanity until we get out past the 3-decade reset, the year 2050. At that time, the universe and what humans are involved in terms of space exploration and other galaxies, other planets, a lot more happening as we get out towards 2050. That will naturally change the focus that Homo sapiens sapiens place on Earth and the things around them. So attention spans around electronic devices are going to be somewhat a critical factor for several decades to come here. But as you get out towards 2050, see a big change in that. 74, it has been revealed that Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem has been funneling hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars to her own private equity firm from the time she campaigned for governor of South Dakota until now. Will she ever be indicted for any of this? Her own private equity, yeah. Yeah, no, actually, actually before this year's out, there's some sort of an indictment coming forward or talk of an indictment. And as we get out into early 2026, it looks like it actually does take place. 73, it appears certain highly regarded historical figures, particularly in the areas of religion, appear to possibly have been hybrids. Do hybrids have superhuman powers? Are they able to tap into their specific mission on Earth? So I don't see any historical religious figures that were like in the human form that were hybrids. We have many hybrids among us, but historical religious figures. Now, I'm going to make an exception here that if you look in different parts of thousands of years ago in ancient history around what a lot of population perceived were fire gods is coming from the sky, those were extraterrestrials, not hybrids. You look at a lot of the gods that were around in India, those were extraterrestrials. But hybrids have been among the populations for, thousands of years. They don't reveal themselves as hybrids, highly connected to the other side, down here with a mission which they understand. Okay. 72, when will there be changes to the Constitution to ensure that we are going through now as a country will never take place again? Amendments take a long time to get through the process. I see over a dozen constitutional amendments coming into the Constitution, like in a firm way, soon after the 2032 presidential election. There's going to be a lead up to that, a lot of discussion about the amendments, but they finally get into the Constitution as amendments by soon after the year 2032, after that presidential election. 71, I recently heard that on January 1st, 2026, Medicare will start using artificial intelligence to do prior authorizations for medical care. Is this really true? And if so, what will be the impact on Americans on Medicare? So actually, remember, artificial intelligence will come into every facet of our society, including Medicare. It looks like it's going to speed up diagnosis and response time. So it's going to be a tremendous asset. It will produce better outcomes. And I see that even in cases where they're challenged or a second opinion is required, artificial intelligence is going to speed that up. Is AI perfect? No, it's an evolving science, evolving technology. Remember when quantum computers come into play as well, supporting AI technology, that's also going to speed up the accuracy and even diagnosis time. So a lot happening here around AI, but specifically to this question, yes, I do see AI, certain types of new AI technology coming into Medicare, and it looks like the results will be more favorable and positive on the masses. 70, will there be a non-surgical alternative to a tummy tuck for women whose abdomens don't quite bounce back after pregnancy? Yes, starting in 2035, there will actually be new genetic medications and laser techniques. They're going to come into play here. So by 2035, this will actually speed up the return to kind of normalcy for women involved, like bouncing back after pregnancy. Right, very soon, right after 2035, that's going to take place. 66 is are the Carlsbad Caverns an ET hub? No, I don't see this as location for ET bases, nor is it a portal. No, it's expansive, but I don't see it as an ET. They're telling me no, there's no ET bases there, and it's not a portal in that area. 68. Will the GOP MAGA crowd believe the contents of the Epstein files, or will the media place a spin on it, as they have in the past, and create a fake news scenario? Well, actually, a number of news channels will absolutely try to create and falsify information, create a fake news scenario. However, the good news is those with critical thinking skills, you see a lot of more of the population develop critical thinking skills, we're actually going to be able to see past that. So that's not going to be a big issue. There's still a certain smaller percentage of the population that will not utilize critical thinking skills. Now, if they follow, oligarchs and, narcissists for different reasons, but I see a greater percentage population integrating critical thinking skills and saying, no, you can't look past all this. There's too much information here that belies saying it was a hoax. That's key. It's not a hoax. 67, what will happen to public schools in the U.S. in the near future decade? A large number of public schools have lost federal funding and schools are closing. Will public schools get more funding, or will the school system change? I see very soon after the 2026 election cycle, you're going to see a lot more funding coming into education, and actually going to see AI technology come and start to play a role here in education, but to create customized lesson plans for a lot of students. So there are big changes coming here, like soon after 2026, but a resurgence of funding and a focus on education, and we're going to get past a lot of chaos that kind of everybody's in right now. 66 in the countdown. My son told me recently when he goes to bed, starts to fall asleep, his eyes are closed, but he can still see everything in the room with his eyes closed. He also sees colors around people. He said sometimes he sees what looks like a bunch of little movie screens with all these different scenarios playing out, but he knows his eyes are closed and he feels like he's falling asleep. What exactly is going on here in this case? This is a great example of clairvoyance. Remember, eight fundamental clairs. There's actually more than eight clairs, but of the eight fundamental clairs, clairvoyance is the ability to be able to see, right? It's almost like the mind's eye. So clairvoyance is the ability to see images and even movies. And so your son has the ability. Remember, a lot of children, I don't know how old your son is, but prior to the age of 10 years old, a lot of the clairs are very active for everybody coming into this world. And then as adults, people tend to shut them down. But in this case, this is an example of clairvoyant ability, a clairvoyant experience. 65. Hi, Sterling and team. Why has 45 changed his mind about releasing the Epstein files? Will we get all the documents or just a scrubbed version? So he realized the entire Congress was against him. So the writing was on the wall and he swayed in that direction. Remember, some of these documents will be redacted. That's true. But the preponderance of all the evidence will be coming from offshore sources. Just the way we saw a big drop from Europe. I think it was the BBC. It was 20,000 documents or something. But you're going to see a lot more information coming out from worldwide offshore sources. So that's why he changed his mind. But, we're going to see a lot more information coming out of the UK, even from Russia, around the Epstein files. 64. Are we seeing acceleration in the AIM strategy to free will of the people where 45 is concerned? Yes, absolutely. This is the case that people more and more, we talk about this all the time. Remember the AIM strategy that my team brought up November of last year? The A is for analysis, I for investigation, M for movement and military, S for separation, eventual separation. So you're seeing a lot more individuals now that a lot of these segments of the AIM strategy are running in parallel. A lot of people are not casual observers anymore. They're actually now getting actively involved. The writing, figuratively speaking, is on the wall. 63, will the California GOP and DOJ be successful in delaying implementing redistricting the 5 seats that were passed in Proposition 50? So it could be done in time for the November 2026 election. I don't see any major delays in this area. It looks like it will go through. The redistricting will go through, as kind of semi-proposed in Proposition 50, which recently passed. 62, Governor Cox of Utah just announced that the state has signed an agreement with two companies, High Tech Solutions and Holtec International, to build modular nuclear reactors, placing them around the state as early as 2028. Will this plan materialize and will it be safe or will there be accidents? I see it's absolutely going to go through. So they're actually going to build these modular nuclear devices or power plants. They will be placed around the state. I don't see any major disaster coming as a result. It looks like there's going to be pretty good containment strategy around this, and they're going to be fairly small. But it looks like it's going to proceed, but I don't see any major incidents, say here, related to this, okay? 61, will the recent news about Ukraine's corruption accusations on the highest levels of their government, with, I guess, all the recent news about Ukraine's corruption and accusations on the highest levels of government, is President Zelensky part of this corruption? I don't see President Zelensky has any direct involvement in this corruption. It looks like they were funds shuttled through or moved through like a power company or something. I don't know what's going on here with all this. $100 million or something. Don't know. I'm not an expert in this area, but it looks like whatever's going on there was being done outside his purview. So somebody was doing this a workaround, and it does not look like he was directly involved. No, I don't see it. But I certainly see that there's $100 million that was passed through some power company or something of that nature. I do see it, yeah. 60. It appears 45 is moving more and more military ships towards Venezuela. This has not gone through any congressional approved channels, which is a standard protocol. The military leaders are also consulting with attorneys. If 45 orders a strike in Venezuela, will our military disobey that order? By and large, it looks like a lot of the military will obey the order, but there's a big, I'll give you like 33%, like one third of military will somehow exit or try to retire or move away from that. So it's going to really put going to crimp in the plans to try to move forward militarily around Venezuela. There are some actions that are going to go on around Venezuela. I see a lot of the military say quasi disobeying because they're actually going to remove themselves from the equation, retire, exit, whatever this is, okay, or resign. 59, understanding that everyone has their own spiritual guides and spirit guides. Is it possible to have one that is more mischievous than the others? First off, all angels and guides have a very good sense of humor. I hear jokes all the time from them, and they have a very good sense of humor. Remember, humor is part of the love dimension. So I wouldn't say mischievous, but I would say they have a very good sense of humor. They'll try to raise your vibration. So by and large, I don't ever see some more mischievous than others. They're all focused on moving you forward, helping you in life, but they absolutely have a great sense of humor. All angels and guides do. It's very interesting. 58. I was just wondering how far can you see in the future? For example, can you tell what the world is like in 1,000 years? Yes, this information is available and I've seen it, but it won't help anybody in humanity right now. So that's the reason we don't spend a lot of time on looking that far in the future or like on these shows. But yes, I can see what's happening very long time periods out into the future, not just what's happening on Earth, but what's happening in galaxies of the universe. But again, that won't help humanity right now living on Earth. There are very present problems and dangers and things that have to be addressed here. And that would cause a lack of focus, if you will. Okay. 57, the countdown. What is the percentage of extraterrestrials that are benevolent versus not benevolent? Less than 1% of ET groups are, I'll say, dangerous or harmful. 99% of them are benevolent. They're here. They keep that 1% under control. 56, is there anything special about turning 70 years old since that is the age that all of the people born the same year with either a 7 or 10-year life cycle reset at the same time? Nothing special per se about across groups about the age of 70. Remember, everybody's on Earth on either 7 or 10-year life cycles. The way the math works out, at the age of 70, everybody completes a life cycle, starts a new one. But there isn't anything that puts a similarity across all these different people that cross that life cycle period at the age of 70. Everybody has very unique life paths going on. 55, for the past 8 years, I have felt like there is a global effort that is preventing large groups of people to understand the most logical concepts, ignore reason. My question is, has there been an intuitive awakening for a few and a purposeful muted awareness of the masses? This gets back to critical thinking skills. More people are adopting or moving into critical thinking skills. So that's really actually the biggest factor here. It's people that completely decline using any critical thinking skills and just follow an ideology or something of that nature blindly. And those are using critical thinking skills are saying, wait a minute, there's something else going on here. So not really kind of a mass thing going on here in terms of hiding the truth. It really gets down uniquely to the individual and how they utilize their critical thinking skills. 54, I've heard that Saudi Arabia is in talks to buy Warner Brothers Discovery. Will this happen? Well, it's not completely just Saudi Arabia. I think the question is asked about Saudi Arabia here. There is a public investment fund or something in Saudi Arabia. They're going to be involved along with another investment group. So this purchase will take place and Saudi Arabia is involved. But they're one of, I think, 3 or 4 different groups here. They're going to execute that purchase, right? So It's not just Saudi Arabia. That's the important part here. They're part of an investment group. There's other people, groups involved here. 53, climatologists say that a huge Arctic ice chunk the size of Rhode Island is melting, could break off any day, now raising sea levels and hurting coastal cities. Can ETs prevent this disaster? Uh, yeah, this colossal iceberg is that A23A or something. But it's going to raise sea levels. Remember, over the next decade here, we're going to see sea levels rise 1 to 2 feet around the world. So extraterrestrials will not stop certain events from happening. They're not catastrophic to humanity. Okay. So this is going to take place, but no, the question is here, will ETs step in and stop this? If it's A23A they're talking about, it's colossal iceberg. No, they won't step in and stop that particularly. 52, will Chinese EVs come to Canada in the next 2 years without prohibitive tariffs? You know what? I do see they're going to come to Canada over the next 3 years. I think they're asking 2 years here. I don't know if there's like 100% tariff on them right now, but it looks like the tariff will be reduced in half, like 50, it'll be 50% tariffs. So they are coming to Canada for some reason. Looks like over the next 3 years, 50% reduction in tariffs. So 50% tariff. Yeah, looks like it's going to take place. 51, I've heard you indicate several times that angels and guides will come to us if we simply call them in without fail. I feel like I must be some sort of aberration because I have tried this many times. I've also called after friends and lovers who died to come out to me without success. Can you tell me what I'm doing wrong, please? So it's a very subtle art form. I find a lot of individuals that say they can't do it, they're looking past the very subtle signs. And that's why I say sometimes as a backup measure, get a study buddy, right? Like you do homework, right? And bounce off of each other. Ask that person to call in their guide, get a message. You call in your guides. But it just takes a little bit of practice here. It's like learning how to play an instrument. But it looks to me like I've never anybody that couldn't do it. I do see people that look past very subtle signs. It almost starts off as a whisper or a distant thought. And as you start to go, well, seriously, why do you get a thought and it reminds me of this place in the world? And that might be a relative that lived in Tokyo, let's say forever. So there's a very subtleness to it. It's an art form. And I think that's the best way I can give whoever asks this question. Take some patience, but you might want to get somebody else to be like your study buddy to help create the skill. 50, I had a sister that died after 1 week old. Do infants grow older in the afterlife? No, not necessarily. That's kind of a human construct, but many times souls that come down very quickly and go back very quickly, they'll pick an age they're comfortable with. So they might pick 12 years old, or maybe they want to see themselves as 20 or 30 years old, but they'll pick an age they're comfortable with. That's usually the case. It's not necessarily growing up in the afterlife. That's a human concept. I think I find a lot of humanity takes many concepts that are down here and they try to overlay them into the afterlife. And that's not characteristic here, but they will pick an age that they're comfortable with. 49, what is the real reason the Saudi crown prince is visiting 45 in the White House or did this week? It's an agreement to you help me, I help you. So what's going on here is an agreement, something with F-35 jets, and at the same time, it's a pathway for escape and exit eventually for 45. So we've talked about this for years, but now there's an agreement going on here. I pat your back, you pat my back. 48, if we have free will, does it change what is already in the Akashic records for our past, present, and future actions? No, it does not. Remember, these are hard concepts for humanity. If you think it's already actually in the Akashic records. Because remember, the Akashic records, universal record of everything past, present, and future. It actually lives in a nonlinear time domain. You think about it as being in the heaven dimension. But no, it doesn't change what's on your Akashic Records pathway. The question here. Remember, free will affects the 3 S's in your life: speed, scope, and scale. 47, is there anything viewed as a career anymore in society? I work hard all of my job, but it's hard to find a place to make a career. I feel like companies work you so hard, then burn you out, and you eventually leave. When will work environments start to change? Well, there are going to be large shifts in what are viewed as careers over just this next decade here with the integration of artificial intelligence and the kind of jobs that are related to digital format as opposed to physical format. So there's be big shifts here in what are viewed as careers. People are going to have to work less hard, less hours, but there's more technology going to come into play here. So the definition of career is going to be a little different. You're not going to be working as many hours, won't spend much time on the job. More technology is going to change kind of the landscape. So there'll still be careers, but they'll be viewed differently. 46. Tanzania has always been a peaceful country. However, they have had a very questionable election with President, is it Samia, winning. It has sparked an outrage among young people, causing them to protest. The military used force and killed hundreds of protesters. President Samia cut the phone and internet service and put the country on lockdown. Will she be stopped? I don't see her being stopped. It looks like she's in there for like another 5 years or something. So I don't know what's going on with the election cycles here in that area. Yeah, I mean, there's actually the election process, but not above board. There's things going on here with that election process, but it looks like she's in that position for like another 5 years to me. So it's going to be a little difficult. Economic instability going on there, but somehow after like the 5 year period, it looks like it all kind of turns around here. So a little bit of a difficult 5 years, but sometimes I find that's the yin and the yang of the universe. Things get very difficult for people. They rise up. They push for change, and that's all what's going to happen here. 45. We helped our dog Brando cross over the Rainbow Bridge on October 27th of this year. Since then, we haven't felt any signs that he has visited. Do they get too busy on the other side to visit after crossing? No, they never get too busy. However, here again, I find that individuals miss the subtle signs, the very subtle signs that spirits, entities, loved ones, your guides, your angels try to get across to you from the other side. In this case, I feel that this dog, Brando, is trying to get your attention when you're outside around birds or even like butterflies, because I'm hearing a very active energy going back and forth here with Brando. He's trying to get your attention, almost like, hey, mom, hey, I'm here. But it looks like it's more connected with outside. So next time you go outside, look for some signs there. I feel like he's definitely going to put them in front of you. 44, will Pete Buttigieg be a part of the next administration? He'll definitely have a cabinet position, but I don't see him as like president or vice president in the next administration. However, eventually, I've always seen that he will have a vice president position, but it's not in the very next administration. 43, due to fishermen and their nets, will the white whales survive or will they go extinct? I believe you're talking about beluga whales here, maybe, is what I'm getting, beluga whales. They're going to survive quite well. So I don't know what's going on with all this. I know that there's some disruption maybe, or people think, looks like their survival depends on like the Arctic environment or something here. Not an animal expert, not a vet, but it looks like the belugas are going to do very, very well for some reason. I'm not seeing any big concerns there. It looks like they have a they're going to like strike up and really reinvent the population. There's something coming here with like a lot of energy around it. And it feels like they can live like 80 to 100 years when they're in the wild. I see a lot of good things for them. I respect whoever asked the question, but it looks like the beluga whales are going to be okay if that's what we're talking about. I'm getting beluga whale. 42, given that hybrids are here living among the population on Earth, do they instinctively know they're hybrids? Do they have contact with their star family? Are they providing feedback to the star family? Kind of yes to all the above. Well, they are living here on Earth among us. They know they're hybrids. Not allowed to reveal you're a hybrid until we get full disclosure out of the way. But yeah, they actually do communicate. They're very connected to the other side. That's their purpose. They're like a communication channel with the other side. That's the beauty of having them down here. 41. Will advancements in CRISPR genetic engineering technology be made to heal women affected by fibroids and endometriosis? And will this be available to everyone who needs it? I get there's breakthroughs coming in endometrial cancer. So I don't know. I don't, again, not a doctor, but looks like whatever breakthroughs are happening with endometrial cancer help with the question here. They're asking about fibroids and endometriosis. Yeah, so there's something happening here like right now, but then there are vaccines available by the year 2035. But I'm getting this is all related somehow. Not a doctor again, but yeah, I'm getting it's all related. So good progress here, but it's more like by 2035. 40. When I learned about who Edgar Casey was, I was approximately 10 years old. I was fascinated by him and his life story. He indicated we all have the same abilities he possessed. Why don't the abilities he had cross over to people naturally as it did with him? So we're all at different levels of reincarnation cycles. We also make different levels of commitment before we come down here. So you agree to accomplish certain things before you come down here. That's why we see a lot of times older souls. If you look over some of these way past 100 reincarnations, getting into the thousands, you agree to certain things when you come down here. It's like your responsibility. Now, everybody can tap into the telephone to the other side, the clairaudient gift. Not everybody's going to come down with the same virtuoso skills, as they say, as like Edgar Casey. But that's really why they don't cross over. It's the reason everybody doesn't come down and they're a musical prodigy, for example. Not everybody desires that or has the background or the reincarnation cycles. That's what it's all related to. 39. When there's a new Democratic administration, will the American people be told how much money was stolen, the levels of corruption committed by 45, while his administration was in office? Yes, the full extent of corruption will be understood roughly within about 2 years here. So there's a lot coming out. 38. Do our loved ones always appear when we pass, even if they reincarnate? So first off, loved ones don't reincarnate faster, like 81 to 100 years Earth time. Now, there are cases where, remember, individuals are larger soul groups. It's like 9/11, the Holocaust, lots of other airline disasters. Those soul groups come back much faster. Notwithstanding, if they come back faster, it's faster than 80 to 100 years. There are what are called relay points in heaven. We talk about this all the time. And those allow essentially for communications to ping pong from the heaven dimension to the earth dimension. You do not leave a fragment of your soul in heaven, but they're what are called relay points that bounce that information from the heaven dimension to this dimension. That's how they communicate. And I think that's where they said, do our loved ones always appear when we pass, even if they reincarnate? I'm sorry, so I misinterpreted the question a little bit here. I talk about communication. They're asking, do they always appear? They can appear, yes. So the answer is the same. You can actually push that relay point into a full-scale apparition. You can actually show yourself as an apparition. So that relay point analogy still holds there. 37. If we can never get off our life path, does that mean people that do bad things put those bad things on their life path? Yes, absolutely. Everything that we experience down here is part of the yin and the yang of the universe. All of our life paths are interconnected. We're all learning lessons off of each other, with each other. And yes, it refers to even things that are perceived as bad. There are elements of that situation that create either more good in the world or people pushing towards change. That's all the yin and the yang of the universe. 36. Do you and your guides see ice finally leaving forever? Yes, but you're not going to see a substantial decrease until after the 2026 midterm elections, like a substantial decrease in that. Remember, there's always a momentum to everything. There's like a long tail, so to speak. So even when, let's say, administrations get changed out, things don't happen instantaneously. Those changes take a little bit of time, a little bit they call a long tail. There's a transition phase. So very soon after the 2026 midterm elections, look like a lot of ICE activity will be much more subdued, even cut back by like 80%. 35. Hello, Sterling. How do you receive answers to your questions from your angel team? Do you hear the actual answer word for them to repeat it? or is all given to you as just a knowing? It's like working with someone that's with you in person. So the way I communicate with my team, a lot of times, if I take the extra effort to see them, I can see the full scale apparition. It's analogous to standing in a crowd of people and talking. Let's say you're at a dinner party or a social event, you're hearing, you're talking, you're seeing people. Or it's like being in a conference room meeting. They're all sitting around the table, but it's just like conversation. Now, remember, even when people talk to you, you're using your ears if you're in the human dimension, and then it goes through a certain area of the brain, and that translates as language. When you're doing it from the heaven dimension, like where people are communicating from the other side, you don't have to use the ear, so to speak. It still ends up in the same section of the brain, but it is perceived as conversation. So it's not necessarily telepathic. It still is like conversation, but you're just not using the human ears per se. It's just like meeting with a business friend or a colleague. 34, are secret societies still in charge of many things in our society, from law, finance to governments? Are they the cause of many injustices around the world? And is there something more sinister at the top of the pyramid? So there's certainly large amounts of influence exerted by many wealthy people around the world. That's very true. That's always been true for thousands of years, believe it or not. It's going to continue. It's going to get a lot less of an issue as we get out past the 3-decade reset, past the year 2050. There's going to be a whole rebalancing of humanity and the way power is distributed, the understanding of how the universe works and extraterrestrials and a lot of that technology. It's going to shift the balance of power worldwide. 33, my husband and I took your recommendation. We found a dark sky, pointed our phones up to it and said, hello, friends. We received a steady blinking light and then a lot of movement of the same light. We were thrilled. What type of ET friends do we communicate with that night? So based on that question, it's hard to determine exactly which group you are communicating with. There are dozens of extraterrestrial groups traveling throughout the skies right now, but they'll all communicate in that way. They're trying to develop a friendly relationship with humanity. That's why they offer up that mechanism. So it's also interesting when you say, flash the light twice, and they'll flash twice. And then maybe a little while later, it moves out of the sky, out of your visual viewing range, but at lightning speed. Like there's no aircraft that's going to do that, or spacecraft. So yeah, these are all ways for them confirming they're there. It's a way to kind of help humanity become more comfortable. 32, do dogs respect seniority amongst themselves when they are on earth and in heaven? So if I look at the heaven dimension, right, animals are from the angelic realm. They come down with unconditional love. They respect each other really as a factor of having unconditional love. When they come down to earth, they certainly understand reincarnation cycles of different animals, and there's always a bit of an alpha play, right? If you have animals in your same house, a bit of an alpha play. So there's more of an earthbound respect that's related to that alpha interaction. But on the other side, they certainly respect each other in a greater sense. It's not viewed, they don't have the same complexities that humans have in terms of understanding, hundreds or thousands of reincarnation cycles. They're already from the angelic realm, which is extremely high. So yeah, it's a little bit, it's different. I guess two different scenarios, the heaven dimension and the earth dimension. But they certainly respect the level of seniority in the earth dimension based on reincarnation cycles. And that does become a bit of a play in the alpha. So a lot of times the alpha will be the most reincarnated animal in the house. 31, has 45 spent the money allocated for SNAP benefits? If so, will this come out in the news? Money's already come out. It's been reallocated. Yes, this is all coming out in the news. It's all good in the public eye. And eventually all the money's going to get recovered. Wherever these money got moved, it'll be more funds coming into that area. So there's a bit of jockeying around going around here. But yeah. 30, do ETs have courting and marriage rituals? So yeah, many of the feelings that extraterrestrial groups, the more advanced ones, are on par with what humanity experiences. They experience love, loss, courting, marriage, having families, elders, grandparents. See, a lot of the feelings, a lot of things that humanity experiences. Remember, we all came from star seeds. Everybody was originally a star seed. So it's not it's not unthinkable that a lot of the traits that we have here and some of the courting rituals are similar to extraterrestrial groups. 29, people with the money are now cloning their pets. When a pet is cloned, is it the same soul that comes back? Is it the pet exactly the same as the original pet? No, it's not. So when you're cloning a pet, it's like you're creating a duplicate car. It's like this, it's like, you have a certain type of car. Now you want a replacement car, but the driver for that car will a lot of times be different. It could be the same car, the same model, two different cars. So a different soul actually comes down. So the fact that you may clone the car or the animal, in this case, no, the soul that comes down is actually usually quite different. 28, you always tell us our life path plan is created before we come down to earth. I've always felt like I am strangely calm, don't react very emotionally to death in the family. I'm sad, but I don't cry a lot or mourn other people. Is this just my personality or was it chosen for me? It's all directly a result of the life path elements you came down here. So there's always like a checklist, a punch list. What personality traits do you want to learn? What do you want to carry down with you to Earth? It is all part of the construct before you come down here to Earth. So, and that directly affects, let's say, your empath or empathic capability. You might say, look, I don't want to be a big empath, but I want to be having knowingness on Earth. It is all part of the punch list you create of feature sets you want when you come down here that you believe are important to achieving the specific lessons you want to learn when you're down here. 27, can you comment on artificial intelligence? Does it have a soul? Does AI evolve? Is it sentient? No, AI does not have a soul, will never have a soul. AI will become sentient in the future. That means it's capable of understanding feelings and maybe feeling sad. So it will become sentient in the future, but will never have a soul per se. A side question is people ask me, can you use Chat GPT to read the Akashic records, get your Akashic records? No, there is no connection with that to that realm, to that dimension. 29, Iran is facing its worst drought in decades, and officials are warning that the city of Tehran may need to be evacuated if conditions continue to deteriorate. Some reports suggest the city could run out of water within 2 weeks. What do you see happening for the people in this area? I do see them trying to implement new types of technology to create or alleviate the drought. I don't know if it's cloud seeding or what's going on here, but it's not going to have the major positive effect that they hope for. So there's going to be a problem here over the next couple of years for this area of the world here. Major drought's still going to continue. It looks like the cloud seeding may alleviate a little bit of the problem, but it's going to be a problem here for a number of years for this area of the world. So there's going to be some relocation happening and people trying to make the best of it that they can. I do see a lot of people relocating to other cities because maybe drinking water shortages here too. Yeah. 25, both my late husband and my best friend are highly sensitive people who feel sensory things more deeply than others and are very uncomfortable on this planet. Are highly sensitive people that way because Earth is not their home planet? No, not at all. Remember, we all started as star seeds. However, that is characteristic of being a very high empath level. So this is, again, a characteristic of how people decide to come down here. Earth, figuratively speaking, was nobody's home planet. Right? We all start off in other galaxies, with other extraterrestrial groups. But no, that had a lot to do with what they came down here to achieve and learn, and how to maybe say develop skills. Now, remember that being highly sensitive is also, it's a skill if you learn how to use it. So it's really being able to read people faster in environments. So that can lean into other types of gifts. We all come down with gifts and a selection of things we wanted. But in this case, it doesn't mean that Earth was not their home planet. No. 24, does donating one's body to science versus burial or cremation upon death affect the person's soul? No, has no effect on your soul per se whatsoever. Remember, it's like you, as the driver of a car, stepping outside the car. Now that the engine in that car gets swapped to another car or something else. No, it actually has your soul is infinite, lives beyond it, and actually the way your body is handled doesn't directly affect your soul as you transition. So, cremation or burial or giving it to science, no direct relationship there with how your soul moves on, moves forward. Now, interestingly enough, you could gain what I call effectively like brownie points in heaven. If you donate your body to soul, you're helping a lot of other people. Your body, that is, you donate it. There might be helping medical students. So effectively, in a funny way, you get brownie points for that. 23, I am a Reiki master. I realize the energy does not come from me, but passes through me. I feel it and have seen miracles result from it. I feel blessed to be part of the process. Where do these energies come from? Why is a practitioner needed in the process? So, this is simply an example of you allowing energy to pass through you like a conduit. Okay. Now, your guides and angels are the one that help direct that energy. And actually, they are almost an intermediary, meaning that there may be ascended master or some other archangel or something else on the other side that desires to step in to help that person that's in front of you. Part of the skill with Reiki is being a good, clear conduit, allowing the healing energy to come through you. It's almost like you're like a water pipe and you're allowing all that water to pass through you. But it's also, there's a skill with helping to understand what that person needs in front of you. So, right, it doesn't come from you. You're a conduit of energy, and you're kind of putting a lot of, a very qualified people in line on the other side to help with that particular area. 22, will we ever see changes in how we view ageism and sexism? Yes, but not fully till like after the reset's over, right? The 3-decade reset by 2050. It's really going to take that long for a lot of people to fully move into that understanding, that reality. Doesn't mean a lot of people won't move into that reality much faster. But we're talking about the mass of the population. You're really looking at that 3-decade reset by the year 2050. 21, I know there are elementals near me, but I've only caught glimpses of them and feel their presence. Is there a way to communicate with them without scaring them? All spiritual entities can communicate through the clairaudient channel. So if you develop a clairaudient channel, you can communicate with them. Nothing about scaring them. They're very protective. A lot of elementals are very protective of areas they're in. So not about scaring them, but if you desire to develop your clairaudient side, that's the best way to communicate with everything on the other side, including elementals of all types. 20, I believe you have stated that humanity is in school on earth, learning lessons, so can we evolve along our intended life path? Do souls ever not evolve in the process and actually lose ground in their growth? We always evolve in every life path we have down here, whatever way it is. So maybe people sometimes interpret good or bad occurring with people. Whatever you experience down here is part of your soul growth. So you never go backwards. You're always moving forward. But I understand how a lot of people always think, well, that was a bad life experience. No, but there might be something you learned through that life experience. Actually, even always helped other people. That in turn kind of helped you. Oh, because I went through this large problem on earth and there are a lot of people who came in to help me. I understand gratitude. And so you always move forward in every life cycle. 19, it seems like many of the countries in Africa are having issues with corrupt politicians, genocides, and or wars between different groups. Will we see these events ending? There are significant changes that are going to occur in this area, but like 10 years from now, 2035. So something got a new regime coming in, something about a replacement. It's 2035 that there's a big change going on in this area of the world. But for now, there's like still a lot of corruption. I don't know if there's like drug dealing as well, and a lot of corruption that's affecting a lot of the power struggles there. But by 2035, there's like a switch that flips, and it actually starts really getting better. 18, when people choose to die using medical aid and dying, are they skipping some spiritual process? No. Is it a form of spiritual bypassing? No. Do they still have a life review Yes. So, if you successfully transition to the other side, you're going through a life review. We all do. That's how you encompass and ingrain all the life lessons. And they're asking if you're dying with medical aid, you can't get off the planet if it's not your time. That's very important. And I always use the example of people try to commit suicide. You're not going to get off the planet if it's not your time. You'll be turned around. If you have a near death experience, it's not your time. Your birth angels will turn you around. Family members will have their back to you. It's not your time. But you can't bypass any spiritual lessons. You can't go before it's your time. Yeah, so I think that comprehensive kind of completes what whatever this person's asking here. 17, it is my understanding that we all have angels and guides. What is the difference between them? Who handles what request? So essentially, we all have birth angel or angels, plural, depending on who you are, how you came down. Birth angels stop you from exiting the planet at the wrong time. They save your life. They're the ones that step in at a near fatal car accident. They're the ones that stop you or protect you if you get in a life altering situation. They protect you, they save you for life. Working spiritual guides functionally help you accomplish everything you're doing here on earth. So it's interesting. A lot of people have health guides and healing guides, pragmatic or practical guides, might have a trauma guide, might have a innovation guide. We talk about this all the time on our membership on these live streams on Fridays. But essentially, the working spiritual guides help you practically achieve anything you're trying to get done. Now, if you send a prayer of healing out to the universe, your guides are the ones who help facilitate that communication. And as you go life cycle to life cycle, as you evolve here on Earth, you may need different types of practical or pragmatic guides to help you manage not just, let's say, a McDonald's restaurant, but now you're managing the entire McDonald's corporation. We have a different pragmatic guide. So that's kind of the difference between them. Guides can trade out. Guides are not family members. That question comes up all the time. Family members are still family members on the other side. They're there supporting you, giving you a loving hug. They're supportive. But that's the essential difference between what I call birth angels and working spiritual guides. 16, I am a special education teacher at a public school. Positions are being cut because of budget cuts. Teachers are working the job equivalent of two teachers. Our current president believes special education should be eliminated altogether. Many teachers are quitting or retiring. Will this stressful trend continue or get better? You know, here, right after the 2028 presidential election cycle, looks like it's going to get much better here in the US for this. But AI technology is going to really come into play here too, along with increased investment in education. So yeah, it's a little bit of a struggle here. It's going to get better right after the 2026 midterm, but really going to substantially get better after the 2028 presidential election. So it's kind of like a stair step there, a little bit better and then increasingly better. 15, there is a growing number of people getting alpha-gal syndrome in Arkansas. Alpha-gal is a carbohydrate that's found in all mammals except humans. A bite from a tick makes some people allergic to this carbohydrate that's found in all meat products and animal byproducts. I have alpha-gal, understand that this is on my life path. I was wondering if there is any spiritual significance or a lesson to this outbreak in Arkansas. Yeah, I get it is a tick-borne illness, not a doctor, but I get that whatever discovery is going to be happening here around Arkansas, it looks like it's happening around the nation. I'm just getting from my team, not just Arkansas. Arkansas may be an epicenter for some reason, but asking what's the spiritual reason, looks like for some reason Arkansas is going to play a very important role in developing the cure for this. It's going to be a few years here, and genetic engineering is going to be involved. But within 2-3 years here, there's some sort of a breakthrough around this tick-borne illness. Looks like it makes people allergic or something, can't withstand all meat byproducts or all meat products. But that's why, let's say, the epicenters in Arkansas really going to play a very big role in bringing a solution or cure to humanity here. Yeah. 14, do you see a treatment for NF1, neurofibromatosis, or a successful treatment for those that suffer brain or spinal cord tumors? I get, is this the NF1 gene? Did they say NF1? They said NF1 here. I get this NF1 type gene or genetic disorder that causes tumors. Okay. Actually, there's breakthroughs going on right now. I just heard that there's some genetic engineering. I don't know if they're doing this with mice or, testing here, but there's a breakthrough taking place right now. So this question is all about, is there a treatment for this? Um, yeah, it looks like the doctors are right on the cusp right now of a breakthrough. Obviously, it takes years. So it's going to be 4 or 5 years for, let's say, some of the first testing or medications to be developed. But I keep getting there's a genetic breakthrough right now around NF1. Don't know anything about it, but that's what they're telling me. Oh, and then full cure is available here again by 2035. You see, there are a lot of things taking place here on a 10-year horizon. Somehow that's the way a lot of this genetic engineering and CRISPR technology is rolling out. So a lot of testing, evaluation, certification by government organizations, and then it gets out. 13, we are all excited about the potential of extraterrestrial full disclosure. What are the requirements that ETs want to see from humanity in order to feel safe enough to make contact with the general population? They're looking for stable governments worldwide. They're looking for critical thinking skills, right? Think before you shoot, so to speak. They're looking for a general understanding in society, a belief that, like humanity, the good of humanity is better than just the good of one person. Looking at a number of things across humanity here as they come forward. So, pretty straightforward. Critical thinking skills, ability to look outside yourself, want the best for humanity, and don't shoot before you ask questions, so to speak. Okay. 12. Hi, Sterling and team. You mentioned in your last episode that lab-made meat will not become available for a few years. My question is, once full disclosure takes place, will our ET friends show us alternatives to replace killing animals for their protein? Yes, ETs never kill animals for food or for protein. It's all lab grown. So this technology will be available, readily available within a few short years here, distributed. But lab grown meats, lab grown proteins will become the norm. They're not necessary to kill animals. 11. When I was a child, probably about 10 years old, I was sent by my mother to a local shop one Sunday morning to get potatoes for our Sunday roast. On the way, for several seconds, the world stopped. No cars, bird songs, people talking. I felt as though I was in a gigantic fishbowl being watched. It was a very surreal experience and still very memorable. 50 years later, what was very disturbing? Can you tell me what I experienced? You walk through a powerful magnetic energy center. That's what it feels like when you walk through a magnetic energy center. And it happens all around. There are a lot of them in Sedona, in this area of the country, in Sedona, Arizona. There are some in, up on the northern end of Utah that we talk about all the time. Skinwalker Ranch. But yeah, you walk through a magnetic energy center. They're a little unnerving when you do. You don't always walk through them. Normally, they're not exactly in the hubs or in the middle of cities per se, but you in fact walk through a magnetic energy center. 10. I'm absolutely terrified of snakes, whether they are poisonous or not. Is this due to an experience in a past life, such as dying from a snake bite or something else? It's all related to fears that you're carrying in this lifetime. I know a lot of people like to pinpoint or say, well, it's a prior lifetime. You bring all the lessons you want to learn into this lifetime as part of your life path blueprint. So in this case, there's something about snakes and that fear you're supposed to get through. A lot of times these represent themselves as like traumas that we carry with in life. There are physical, emotional traumas, medical traumas. They're the biggest lessons in life we learn. I don't know who this person is, there's no name here, but many times, for example, getting over a fear of snakes and maybe then working with snakes to help humanity or using, something that snakes have to create different medications or something on your life path here you're supposed to work through. It's like passing through the fear. But no, it's not related to a past life, experience. We had a snake bite and you died or something. 9, many years ago, my father had a heart attack, and since then, he has said he experienced seeing people in his room at night. They were just moving around the room and were not scary in any way. However, when he addressed them, they simply disappeared. He passed away earlier this year, and I'm sleeping in the very same room he slept in. I don't see the figures he saw, but I feel spiritually overwhelmed at times and can't sleep. I have random nightmares, and sometimes my body feels on edge like pins and needles. This house is new construction, so we are the first family living here. Is there anything going on with the room, or is it something else? What I pick up is actually there were individuals that lived on that property in that area. Forget about the house building, but in that area hundreds of years ago that they like that area. Now, spirits will generally and genuinely respect if you ask them to leave, they'll honor that request. But these are individuals that lived on that land. I'm getting hundreds of years ago, but they liked it. They're benevolent, and I think that out of respect, I think when your father said they addressed them, they left. They're not there to have conversation. There's like passing through. It's almost like people looking through an open house when you're selling your home. They're coming to you. Oh, that's nice. I like the dishes. I like the furniture. That's kind of what they're doing. So nothing to worry about. But if you don't like them, you can ask them to leave. They'll respect that. 8. Was Hurricane Melissa a natural storm, or was it done by one of the evil groups that have the technology to do this? I get this was a natural storm in this area. No, this is a natural storm. And I think the winds were over 250 miles per hour or something, but it was a natural occurring event, not created by some evil group or government or extraterrestrial group. This is a natural atmospheric phenomenon, the way it occurred, the way it came up. 7. After passing, do I go into the tunnel of light or avoid it? Everyone gradually enters what they call the tunnel of light. It's really like a pathway from this dimension into the next dimension. And you're always guided by your birth angels, many times family members that are around you. But no, everybody gradually moves through that tunnel of light, and you get into a welcome areas like Grand Central Station. That's usually where you kind of figure out where your life review is going to take place. You see family members, but no, everybody kind of enters that tunnel of light eventually. 6, I'm a university professor. We have a lot of concerns about artificial intelligence. How will it change education? Do you see human teachers being replaced by AI? Well, AI is going to be a tremendously valuable tool for education and for teachers. Teachers will still be required, but AI is going to be a tremendous benefit accessing trillions of pieces of information worldwide instantaneously, creating customized lesson plans for students wherever they're at. Teachers will still be required to kind of administer, coordinate a lot of that. Look, not everybody's going to understand how to use AI technology right away. Teachers will actually help train them as well. You can look for another couple of decades for teachers to kind of play the role they are, but there will be an evolution, a gradual evolution as we get out to the 3-decade reset 2050, where the roles of teachers will be somewhat compromised, somewhat different. And teachers will be moving on to other areas. So it'll be like using artificial technology, not for education, let's say for students, but it may be for new careers or new developments. It's helping people utilize the technology. Okay. 5. Dear Sterling and team, I've been listening to various interpretations of the work of Dolores Cannon on the New Earth. It is being said that those who remain in 3D consciousness will not be included, and the one source, one force will withdraw energy from them, either by accident, illness, or suicide. Please share your guides. What I have to say about this. No, this interpretation is not exactly correct. Remember, we talk about enlightenment. It's like the ability to want to learn, to use critical thinking skills, to observe that the veil to the other side is getting thinner, to hear that subtle voice, that clairaudience. So all these things are important to the way we're going to evolve here. But it has nothing to do with the one source, the one force pulling away energy. We're all part of the one source, the one force, drops of water in the ocean. So that interpretation is not exactly correct. You know, the analogy here is if people don't want to learn, they don't want to learn and they don't evolve, right? It's all part of the way people want to evolve in life. 4, I have sometimes experienced the passing of people and pets in real time or knew 6 months in advance that a person was preparing to pass. I also often have spiritual experiences in my dreams. Recently, 2 separate aspects came together when I dreamed of actually helping a man to pass. He was very distressed and unsure of how to proceed. I called him over, told him we would make the journey together. When I looked up, he was far down the path, waved goodbye, and continued towards the horizon. A couple of days later, I learned that my friend's husband had been very sick and he died. although the version I saw was younger than he'd been when I'd known him. Can you ask your team whether I did help him pass? If so, am I meant to tell my friend? So this is a precognitive dream. You did not help him pass or cross over. That's really what the birth angels do. But this is a precognitive dream. So you do have that skill. That's kind of a compliment to a number of the clairs, right? Because precognition has a lot to do with a combination of knowingness and being clairvoyant. So like precognitive, yeah, it's a precognitive dream. Precognizance is a knowingness, and then, clairvoyance has a lot to do with the way you see images. So you had a precognitive dream. Now, but you didn't help him cross over. So you can choose to learn how to utilize this skill and help other people. And I'm not sure you need to share that with your friends, saying I helped them cross. But if you find it find it comfortable to talk about your intuitiveness and the way you see things on the other side, and then bring your friend in kind of that discussion, that might be helpful to kind of increase her understanding of the other side. And number three, number two, and number one, I always take notes before I start these shows, so I'll read those back to you right now. Number three, do your ET friends have anything they want to share? Keep in mind that we are very deliberate in everything we get involved in with humanity and will never produce confusing events or situations around humanity. We are always very clear in our intentions and the way we show ourselves and communicate with humanity. Number two, what do you see coming up next week? New information coming forward from international sources regarding backroom deals with Saudi Arabia and the 45 administration. New massive information releases related to the Epstein files coming from offshore. New tests coming out for thyroid disease that creates better ways to address this condition. New massive recalls of a food on store shelves that stops many from being hurt or injured. That's good news. Significant progress on Russia-Ukraine peace deal structure that starts moving towards a completion of the war. New earthquakes in the Asia region and related tsunami warnings. New airline stoppage for safety concerns that will last 1 to 2 days. This was like a specific airline to me, okay? And number one in the countdown, do you have anything your guides want to share? Be prepared to remove all negativity from your lives that exist around you. You know where it's coming from, so just acknowledge it and do not take it into your universe. On that note, that concludes this show being recorded today on Saturday, November 22nd, 2025, released to the YouTube platform on Sunday, November 23rd, 2025. As always, if you want to join our Platinum group and engage in live streams I do on Friday mornings, Pacific time zone, I answer a plethora of personal questions our viewers have. You're welcome to join our Platinum membership. The join button again is on the front page of our YouTube channel, Sterling Psychic Medium, as well as our website, sterlingpsychicmedium.com. On that note, going to send out goodwill and tremendous love to you and your families. Take care. I will see you all again very soon.